You are a slug cat. Soft, squishy, fast, and nimble, you're one of the many denizens of the rain world. And you're not particularly high on the food chain either. But for what you lack in raw strength and sharp, pointy teeth, you make up for in a quick wit and a plucky attitude. Which you will definitely need, for the world is very unforgiving and cares not for the likes of anybody who's just walking through. You are but a small part of a much larger painting, or at least it appears that way whenever you first drop in. As you move from room to room and place to place, you'll find that things have been happening before your arrival, and they will continue to happen after you leave. You can sit and watch as the ecosystem lives and breathes, or choose to act on it, or other times you may be noticed and the ecosystem will begin its act on you. Such is the way of survival. Which at first glance appears to be what the game is mostly about. That's what I thought it was whenever I first started playing it. There was a neat little intro that set the scene for an adventure through unknown lands. I'd become separated from my family and needed to make my way back. Simple. I dropped into the outskirts and was given a basic tutorial by a little yellow floating feller, and started my journey through this new and interesting world. A world of rusted pipes and derelict machinery. A world abandoned by its original creators, who left nothing but opportunity behind. Opportunities for you to solve a puzzle, or to just get bitten by a lizard. Which brings us to one of the first points that I'd like to cover. At its core, Rain World is an ecosystem simulator, and it makes a very strong point of you being just part of it by placing you just barely above the bottom of the food chain. This is broken slightly by your ability to kill about any creature if you're clever about it, but we'll get back to that later. But in any case, no ecosystem is complete without some creatures. Here in Rain World, there is a whole menagerie of lizards. Some are small and dopey, while others hide in plain sight. Some communicate with radio transmission, while others... Now, lizards might be one of the more common types of creature that you'll come across, but they are far from the only kind. There's also big bugs, little bugs, jump-on-you bugs, spiders with guns, spiders full of other spiders, glow-in-the-dark mice, noodles, small fish, gangfish, big fish, little flying things, big flying things, General Grievous, kiwis with scissors for faces. Did I mention some of them fly? Electric centipedes, the locals, big beetles, concussive snails, and last but not least, you, the slug cat, which by default comes in 3 delicious flavors. We have Survivor, the normal one, who is very normal. Your running speed is normal, swim speed is normal, spears do normal damage, and you can take the normal amount of lizard bite force. Then there's Monk, the little brother. The world is a bit more kind to this one, and doors stay open once you unlock them. Just hope you don't need to throw a spear. And then there's Hunter, the de facto hard mode of the base game. Hunter lives on a time limit in a world full of harder baddies. He's also the first one to start getting into the story of the world, as he has a very important delivery to make before his head cold gets any worse. With the addition of the More Slug Cats expansion, there are several more characters to choose from that delve further into the story and expand on the past and future of the timeline. There's Gourmand, the chunky collector, Artificer, the sad angry bombshell, Spearmaster, the one who uses straws, Rivulet, the axolotl on speed, Saint is the fluffy one, and Saphanthiel, the one we don't talk about. And even with all these different options, the game makes it acutely aware that you are just another one of the creatures that live in the Rain World. And that's just the ones off the top of my head. There's plenty of other ones to play with, some of which are so rare that people question whether or not they're real. Which they are. And all of these creatures make the world feel alive. Like it exists far beyond you and continues to exist even whenever you turn the game off somehow. But you can't just hide and watch everything happen all day. There is a timer, and when that timer reaches 0, it'll start to rain. And this is not some pleasant spring shower with a misting for your flowers. This is torrential, drowning downpour. And if you're caught out in it, you will cease to be. And don't think you can hide underground either. If you try to go into the pipes into an interior space, it'll just flood with water, and you'll drown. While this does sound rather gruesome, it still leads quite well into what I'd like to cover next. One of the most compelling parts of Rain World is the ambience. Yes, I count the rain as part of the ambience, even though it is rather violent. Ambience doesn't have to be simple now, does it? It's just part of what makes the game feel and look the way that it does. And with the lack of any real scrolling, each room or panel can become its own little piece of art. There are plenty of rooms that are just nice to look at. Some of them are small, simple, and aesthetically pleasing, while others glitter with life and color. Some have a pleasant balance to them, while others make you feel very small with the vastness of everything. Some elicit this air of grandeur, and others a feeling of emptiness and loss, while others just feel like a distant memory. And this is just the visuals. The sound design is absolutely spot on as well, with each area coming to life as you step in. The waves washing in the shoreline, the mechanical hums in the outskirts, the wind howling in the sky islands, and creatures barking in the outer expanse. All of it perfectly matching the audio of the world to what you see. And it doesn't end there. Ambient sounds aren't the only thing to listen to. The soundtrack is also second to none. Rainworld's soundtrack is probably one of the best I've heard in a game. Personally, I put it between Ace Combat and Tunic, but neither of those are really comparable. Interestingly, it's difficult to compare it to itself. Some tracks are very subtle and ambient. Some have driving percussive beats. Some make you want to dance, and others are pure anxiety. I particularly like how the main theme shows up in motifs between Looks to the Moon and Five Pebbles. They're the same, but different, and reflect on their feelings and problems. Moons is also cool because it's got some whammy on it. The threat themes are also fairly unique, as they evolve as much as the threat evolves. Most start with small sounds and percussive beats, then quickly ramp up with bass, driving beats, and some sort of lead, all dripping with anxiety. Now this all may feel a bit complex for a little ecosystem simulator, which is what I thought the game was when I first started, but I soon found out that there's a lot more that meets the eye in the Rain world. While there are party game-like modes with the Arena, Safari mode, and Challenge mode, which are super fun with friends by the way, the real meat and potatoes of the game lies in the character campaigns. This becomes fairly obvious whenever you meet one of the main characters. In most cases this will be Looks to the Moon, and that's what'll get you asking the right sort of questions. But before I get into that, we need to touch on some of the background. I've conveniently glossed over this until now, as it's a bit complicated to throw into the beginning of a video. So, what is the cycle? From a gameplay perspective, it's why you respawn. You reincarnate back at your last save point, and it's no free lunch either. Dying will drop you down 1 karma level, unless you have the right sort of drugs on you. Karma is basically your region gate key. Have enough of it and it'll open. Don't have enough? Go get good and sleep again. The main karma symbols, upside down 2, G, thick T, double E, and house, are probably representative of the 4 F's of survival, being fighting, fleeing, feeding, and mating, with the house being survival itself. Why is this important? It's not really, it's just on all the iterator murals. Now what are the iterators? I'm glad you asked! And to answer that, I'll not talk about them at all and bring up the Ancients, who are the ones who originally built everything. They also were trapped in the cycle, but figured out a way of escaping it, which is basically to take a dunk in void fluid, the stuff that is so corrosive it dissolves the very fabric of reality. And when you die in that stuff, you're dead. It has dissolved your entire being, and you escape the cycle. Well, that's assuming that you let go all of your earthly desires, inhibitions, and unfinished business. If you didn't, well, I hope you like being an immortal ghost thing that tells wisdom to passerbys who have enough karma. See, I wasn't done with karma yet. Talking to an echo, the ones that I just mentioned who failed to ascend properly, will raise your karma level further up past survival, into one of the special symbols of wisdom. The highest of which is a big circled X, and you need that one to get past the guardians in the final area. If your karma isn't high enough, I'm so sorry. Iterators can also grant you more karma, which raises more questions considering what they are. But to get into that, we're going to have to talk about the Ancients. As they became more advanced with their harnessing of the energy within void fluid, they seeked out more advanced ways of ascension. They wanted shiny new modern methods, but drilling for the stuff sort of broke everything because it's magically corrosive. To help solve this issue, they had the bright idea of building city-sized sentient supercomputers to simulate void fluid to look for another solution, which they apparently found without the iterators because they're all gone. They just left their creations out to rot. And on top of that, the iterators caused the deadly rain by cycling vast amounts of water through their biotechnical systems. So all of it's a bit of a mess. And that's where you come in. Depending on which character you're playing, you may have certain tasks to do involving the iterators. Most are fetch quests or deliveries, but they're damn good ones and paint a really compelling picture of what's happened and what's happening in the world. And that's what brings me back to it. The delivery of lore in the story is so satisfying to uncover. And that on top of the music and the ambience and just the look of everything, and the really interesting way that the characters moved. I mean, there's like a 42-page wiki document and all the different ways that you can move your character, or you can get away with it completely fine just jumping and using the basic leap. So it's easy to learn but very difficult to master, and you can have fun through any level of that. And that's one of the things that I think I enjoy the most, and it's just playing the characters and all the little things that they do and just their own personalities just makes it a nice, complete picture that really makes me care about all the characters and the things that's happening with them. All of them. All the player characters, small squishy creatures originally created to clean pipes, are a catalyst in the story that the world has to tell. Some change little beyond their own interests and influences, while others perform feats of great significance in the world. In any case, they all find themselves meddling in the affairs of passing gods and uncovering a story that the Rain world has to tell. A tale of abandonment and anger, regret and forgiveness, all wrapped up in the mystery of who started it all, cast it aside, and where it all leads to. Because you, the Slug Cat, can do anything you set your mind to, so long as you have a stick, a rock, and a touch of luck.